Welcome back. If you're one of the millions of Americans trying to live a healthier lifestyle in the new year, let's cheers a glass of water to that. It's one of the most popular resolutions for a reason, but also one of the hardest to maintain. This morning, we're sitting down with a dietitian from UVM to learn more about the benefits of establishing better habits in 2025.
When we socialize with our loved ones or want to unwind, it can be so tempting to indulge in comfort food or celebrate with an alcoholic beverage. If your resolution is to cut items like this out of your diet completely, dietitian Farrell Bertman says going cold turkey might be the wrong way to start.
I think that taking a moment to reflect and contemplate your relationship with your body, food, sleep, movement is a wonderful direction. And with it, I'm personally really fascinated with this new movement around Dry January. Dry January allows us to take a pause, those of us that consume alcohol, and think about what is our relationship with alcohol? And that can really lend itself to reflecting what is our relationship with ourselves, with our body, with our health, with self-care, with sleep. Are we interacting with these different things to avoid, or are we ready to be brave and face our lives in a way that can be bold and allowing us to live authentically?
Bertman teaches classes about nutrition and diet at the University of Vermont and is really passionate about this topic because it impacts all of us. She has a holistic approach to thinking about our relationship with food and drink.
Our program is a weight-inclusive program, meaning that what we really want to do is help people heal their relationship with themselves, their bodies, and food. And January is a tricky time because we are inundated with discussions around weight loss and diet. And we're finding not only is that not sustainable for 93% of the population, but it also can be harmful. We can change our basal metabolic rate if we are intentionally restricting food. So I actually think it is an interesting time to talk about our relationship with food, but I do I think healthy is a loaded term.
Instead of thinking about committing to a goal for an entire year, Bertman says try simpler goals for a shorter time period that could eventually lead to achieving a bigger milestone.
Let's just start with this idea of being able to contemplate. So if shifting away to either damp or dry January is something that seems right to you, it allows one to interact with alcohol in a way that's really mindful. What were my habits? What are the new habits that I want to adopt, even if it's for 31 days? And it starts to sort of deepen one's relationship with themselves and with alcohol. When we look at alcohol specifically, we find that throughout the life cycle, sobriety can be helpful. So when we are consuming alcohol, it can lead to sleep disruption. Consuming high amounts of alcohol is associated with dementia and Alzheimer's later in life. The American Heart Association has shown an association between alcohol and stroke. Alcohol, although it can make you sleepy, it can change your quality of sleep. And evidence is showing that you're not able to shift into REM, which is a deeper form of sleep. And then if we want to start making connections, that quality of sleep is associated with mood, with type 2 diabetes, with stroke incidence and sleep apnea, and all of these other considerations that have a clear implication on health.
Let's talk more about the term damp January.
So as a dietitian, I am a big fan of moderation. So for some people, that sort of stepping into dry January seems like a big step that might not be achievable. Maybe you can make it through the first week, and then you perhaps shift into some negative self-talk that I'm not able to do this. Damp January is just a reduction in your alcohol consumption. For some people, that might look like not consuming alcohol at home, but maybe continuing to consume alcohol in social settings. So it's a lessening of beverage intake, but in a way that might be a gentle step for folks that aren't ready for dry January.
Living a sober or mostly sober lifestyle in the new year has become a popular trend in recent years, so much so that many restaurants and bars are offering more extensive mocktail menus featuring non-alcoholic beverages, something that Bertman is a huge fan of.
I think it's so exciting. It's really great for us to think about what is our relationship with food and drink, and is it more than the food that we're consuming? Is it this social aspect? Is it coming together? Is it sharing culture and sharing traditions? And so folks that are, for whatever reason, taking a sober route to their lives, they can participate in it. They can participate in the culture and then the event and the sharing of food and drink in a way that allows them to align with their alcohol consumption behavior.
Bertman says people who decide to cut back on alcohol could notice many benefits to their overall health and their social life.
It can have improved sleep. It can allow us to fully feel our feelings. We find that specifically around food, if you are able to really dial in and get a sense of your fullness or your hunger cues, that you're much more likely to have a positive relationship with food and your body. When we have different substances that numb, not only are you perhaps avoiding the lows, which some people do, but you're also really muting the highs. And it's a situation where you might be missing out on some really joyful conversations where you should be present. Maybe there are people in your life that you're only going to be able to spend time with for a short amount of time. So when you mute, you might be missing out on those memories. You might be missing out on that full feeling of engagement. And so I think I really encourage folks that when they are interacting with food, that they're fully present. And sobriety allows us to be fully present, present for the cultural aspects, present for the conversation, present for the history.
If all of this sounds like something you might want to try this month, here's some advice for carrying these habits on past January.
So a couple of different ways that we can do this. So the first is contemplative practice, really dialing in and understanding who are you, what are your feelings, what is happening from day to day as you're having this new experience with a new habit. So maybe journaling in the evening, doing a voice recording. Many of us have phones with us, so maybe jotting down a few notes about how you feel, and were there things that made it more difficult? Were there things that made it easier? How has it changed your relationships with yourself and others? So reflecting, meditating, perhaps, if that's something that you're open to, getting out and moving your body in a joyful way can also reinforce habit changes. Another thing that we do within the dietetics practice is we help people form SMART goals. And these are just small, pun intended, bite-sized goals where they're specific and measurable, they're agreeable to the person we're working with, they're realistic, and there's a set time point. I think that dry January can be helpful for folks because there is that set time point. I just have to get through the 31st. We can take that skill and we can start building it into the future where, okay, well, what about in 2 weeks? What do you think you can accomplish?
What if you try but don't succeed in sticking with your goal?
You can try again. And you can see, like, maybe I'll be able to reduce my alcohol consumption for 1 week. And then maybe it's 2 weeks. Maybe damp January is a better fit. Maybe taking an inventory of cues around you. Are you walking into your kitchen and immediately seeing alcoholic beverages? What would happen if you shifted those into a place that you don't immediately see? And does that change? And you brought up this wonderful idea of, what if you swap out your beverages? Could it be a soda or a seltzer or a sparkling cider? How does that feel? Does that give you that same sense of ritual. And I think that there are some rituals that are associated with our beverage consumption. So what does that look like? Also, I just wanted to bring up this idea that when we are thinking about changes in habits, we're so quick to focus on food. And I'm really thrilled to have this conversation where we're starting to think about our relationship with alcohol. It seems like it's quick to talk about, oh, let's reduce sugar. People aren't as quick to think about what are they consuming in terms of alcoholic beverages and other substances. So I'm thrilled with Dry January and the fact that we're starting to normalize that conversation.
A conversation worth considering if you're hoping to change some of your habits in the new year.